What's up, everybody? Hope y'all are all doing well. I'm Anthony. On today's video, we are going to be doing something super special. I'm going to be showing you how to turn these bad boys right here, these are black walnuts, into your very own cooking oil. So stay tuned. That's right, today we're making an oil from black walnuts. That way, if you have black walnut trees on your property or you know where you can source them, you'll be able to make your very own oil if you have an Expeller machine. Now, before I get started, I want to make sure that we are all on the same page as to why we're actually doing this. If you happen to be in the preparedness, self-reliant, homesteader kind of community, then you understand the purpose of being able to use whatever you can on your property to the fullest extent. And on my property right here, as you can see behind me, and about 30 other ones over here, there is a large amount of black walnuts here. So every September, October, I hear the nice thud of black walnuts hitting the ground. And a lot of people don't realize that there's other uses besides just eating. As you can see in prior videos, I've actually made medicine from them. I'll put that up here if you want to check that one out. But you can also squeeze oil from black walnuts, and it's actually a very high quality oil. So if you know anything about nutrition, you understand that fat is extremely important because it's high in calories. For every gram of protein you eat, you only get 4 calories, and for every gram of carbohydrates you eat, you only get 3 calories. But fat has 9 calories per gram, which is why it's so important, because it's double and triple carbohydrates in its calorie content. So when you're able to find a fat source, especially a non-animal fat source that can be stored for a long term, then that's going to be very good for you. That's why a lot of people used to plant nut trees, and that's why putting nuts on desserts and all kinds of stuff has been so popular for the last couple hundred years, because it's a good source of fat that a lot of people did not have access to. Bonus of tree nuts, especially things like black walnuts, is they store very good in the shell. I've had these a year later, as long as I keep them dry in their shells, and they don't ruin, they don't go rancid if you just keep them in their shell. But once you shell them, they will start to degrade quickly. So you have to either use them, eat them, or turn them into an oil. That way you have a longer shelf life. So that's what we're doing in today's video. I'm going to show you how you can turn black walnuts that you pick up off the ground into an oil that you can use. Let's go. Okay, so now we got to go pick up a whole bunch of black walnuts. Now for me, this is my favorite, is to grab them in this stage, because you can basically pinch off most of the hull, all right? You don't have to worry about the green ones because it's going to be hard to get that hull off, but if they're already decomposing, then perfect. You're going to pick them up and toss them in your bucket. Super easy, not a big deal. It's just going to take a little bit of time to do it. You definitely want to wear some gloves because it will definitely stain your fingers. Next, you're going to want to put them into that bucket, and then take that bucket and throw a whole bunch of water at some sort of pressure. Okay, so the pressure is going to help get the rest of that hull off. You want to do this about, I don't know how many times it takes to actually clean it. For me, it took about 5 or 6 times. And you see how right here, if you leave it overnight, then it's going to actually kind of ferment a little bit, which makes it a little bit easier. Then you're going to pour them out and pick out the ones that have the most of the hull gone, okay? The more hull that's on there, the harder they're going to be to crack open. So you want them to be as hull-less as possible. Then once you get them to the point where you like them, you're going to want to spread them out so they can dry. If they're drier, then it's going to be easier to crack as well. It takes about a day or two, depending on how warm the temperature is. Now on to everybody's favorite part. We are going to smash these bad boys open. Using a hammer is the best way to do it. Hammer on the ground or on a brick. They are very difficult to get into, but that's the best way to do it, is to use a hammer. I like to also use a pick, because when you use a pick, you're able to get into the crevices, and if you don't have a pick, you're never going to get all the walnut out. It never comes out in one big piece anyway, so a pick will be your best friend. I got about an hour into this, and after about an hour, I had this much. Okay, so about a cup and a half, cup and a quarter, and then this happened. Unfortunately, things happen. I already have another pick off to the side, but I was tired of doing it anyway, and I wanted to see if I could get to an even number so I could do the math and see exactly how much oil we're getting from this batch. So at 100 grams, that means the math's going to be super easy. Now it's time to roast your walnuts. Trust me, if you roast them, it makes the oil flow a lot easier. I've tried it both ways, and when you roast them, it's 10 times easier, so just do it. When you get them done roasted, you're going to want to put them into your Expeller machine, okay? You're going to have it preheated, because if you heat it up, it's going to make things flow easier as well. And as you can see here, you pour your walnuts at the top. It's going to go down into the machine, where there's going to be a screw which is going to squeeze those walnuts, and the oil is going to go right there in that pot with the screen, the mesh screen, and then to the right is where the tailings are going to be, all your chewed up walnut meal. So all we're doing is just pushing down those walnuts into that screw. It's not a very fast process, but you're going to be getting some drops of oil. It looks just like that. Now it's going to speed up a little bit depending on the quality of the walnuts you have, but this is about the most you're going to get, really. So just deal with it. And you're going to obviously want to reprocess your trailings because there's always going to be a couple drops left in those. Once you put those back in, you're going to want to put some cheesecloth over so you can catch what comes out the bottom, and then squeeze it because there's always going to be more hiding in the trailings as well. And after about 100 grams, this is the amount of oil that you're going to get. It's not a lot, but trust me, this is a very high quality oil. You definitely want to do this. So we're going to go ahead and weigh it. Remember, we start with 100 grams, and now we are looking at 17. So do the math. At 17% oil in these black walnuts. And it is a very high quality oil, so yes, it was very much worth it. Alrighty, so how'd you like that? Here's that oil right here. Yes, it is not very much, but again, I only started with 100 grams. I still have about 3/4 of a bucket to go. So yes, I still have a lot of work ahead of me, but I just wanted to show you that it's possible to be able to make your own oil from nuts if you haven't watched my prior videos on making oil from other nuts like pecans, pecans. If you want to see that video, check up here, put it down below in the description. It's an awesome video. Go ahead and check it out. For those of you who do not have an expeller or who do not want to go through the entire process, because yes, it is a very long, arduous process, then you can always buy walnut oil in your store. I got this one from Publix. I'm sure they carry it at other stores like Walmart and stuff like that. But again, it's a roasted walnut oil, and it's made in California, and it's a very high quality oil. You can use this to cook. You can use it for skin products, like how I make salves and medicines. This is very good for uses on the skin, and it's also really good smoke point oil, a higher smoke point oil, so you can season your cast iron. Because when I made my pecan oil, that's how I season my cast iron, with pecan oil, pecan. So you can use that for other purposes besides just eating. But I just want to show you that you can absolutely do this yourself if you have an expeller and if you have the will to want to do it. I like pecans where you can just squeeze two of them in your hand and they crack open and you can shell them that way. You actually have to get a hammer and smack these bad boys open and pick them out with the pick, as you can see earlier in the video. If you compare this to making pecan oil, pecan, then you understand that this is going to be a lot more time intensive, a lot more hands-on for a much less reward. But a lot of people can't grow pecan trees because they only grow more or less in the south. They don't really like a lot of cold, so you're not going to find them too high up there in the continent. So if you happen to live in, say, Canada or the northern states, and you can actually grow black walnuts because they're a little bit more cold hardy than the pecan tree, then this is an option for you to be able to grow your own oil, or at least harvest your own oil, especially in a situation where you can't go out and buy it. And yes, full disclosure, I would much rather make pecan oil than black walnut oil, only because the time is so much more intense. Like, after you put so much more man hours into getting the same results, you just get a lot more bang for your buck with pecans. But again, it's all depending on what kind of trees you have around you. We're trying to use all the resources we have around us to the fullest extent possible, because that's how you become successful, and that's how you remain successful, by taking advantage of every resource you can. All right, so I think I'm going to wind the video down from here. If you want to watch my other videos on how to make oil from things like pumpkins or pecans, go ahead and check down below in the description. I'll go ahead and put them there, as well as the link to the expeller that I used. I got it from Amazon. It definitely comes from China, but it's actually a pretty decent product. And yeah. So that's it. So if you like this video at all, please do me a humongous favor and give this video a thumbs up. I very much would appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you are not. Share the video with someone who you think might appreciate it. And I'll catch y'all later, okay?